All right, let's look at part 2 of DBCC CheckDB. And one of the things we can do with this is we can save the results to a table. I will actually be linking in the description to a video that I recorded, I want to say 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, if I recall, where I actually save this output to a table and I go through it before backing up the database. And in fact, it's the same server and everything that I do a lot of my testing on. Now, I will warn you, it's a much older video, so I believe I was in an apartment with a hardwood floor, so I mean, there's quite a strong echo, but you can actually see stepping through it, and that's kind of helpful, and it's a lot longer than 6 minutes. Now, be careful with DBCC CheckDB about putting DBAs, junior DBAs, I mean, in charge of handling this, and especially people who are just new to the environment, right? Because if it fails and they don't really know what's an acceptable threshold of loss if that applies, what could happen is they could run the commands like repair or allow data loss, and junior DBAs have a tendency to run that because it's reactive, right? That's, for those of you who've worked with junior DBAs, you know they tend to react to problems, or they'll read something on the internet that says, oh, this is the fix. In reality, that may do things that they're not aware of. Like, for instance, allowing data loss. The reason why it's called allowed data loss is because it allows data loss, right? The same thing with repair. So whereas a senior DBA is going to want to know more about what specifically is the failure, a junior DBA is often going to be the one that's reacting to problems. So just be careful, okay? If they don't have information about how important the database is, what data is being stored there, for instance, a configuration database, it may not be a big deal. People may not see it as it's worth that much of our time, but it's much different if it's something where you have client data, PII data. So my suggestions when running CheckDB would be to save the information to a table file and run it before backup. Like I say in the video that I'll link in the description, I do that and show the step-by-step on doing that. I would also run it as frequently as I run backups. And there are environments that you're not going to be able to run it before you do a backup, and that's because, let's say, CheckDB takes 2 hours to run, and the backup takes, let's say, 2 hours to run as well. Well, you may have too short of a time window. So one of the things that you can do in those environments is you can take the backup, you can restore it in a different server, restore it on a different server, and then run CheckDB against the backup and then save that output. The ideas or the theory behind that is that if DBCC passes on a restored backup, then in theory, that point in time, there's no way that the active database should be corrupt. That would be pretty bizarre. The probability, at least in my opinion, is so low, that's not a word, or so low, just because that would mean that somehow a backup has no corruption, but the live database does. Now, if the corruption happens after the backup, that makes sense, but I cannot think of a scenario or even a possibility that a database has corruption on it, you back it up, and there's no corruption on the backup. That would be a pretty low probability if it's possible. So those environments which do exist, that's one way to do that, and of course save that information. So really quickly, just a point about DBCC. You can do CheckDB with table results. That will get you a table. You can also check the error log for if it's been run recently, which is very useful for not doubling up, especially when new. And then of course, if you have the table built, and in the video I actually build the table, you can then run it this way where it's going to actually save that information to a table. So these are just some suggestions, and then look at the video in the description below to see how I save that information.